We are coming to you live from the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you can handle the truth. Good evening from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we discuss the Bill of Rights and the Vienna Declaration on TM Radio. Call into the show live and ask a question at 800-313-9443, or you can listen at 605-313-0163. All across the globe, this is a very special day. It's Human Rights Day. Human Rights Day is celebrated every year on the 10th of December. This day is celebrated internationally to commemorate the 10th of December 1948, when the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at Palais des Chalices, Paris, after the experience of the Second World War. I thought that it would be a good idea. You can call up and offer suggestions if you like, but I thought it would be a good idea if we looked over the Bill of Rights, and that's what I've actually elected to do. The first 10 amendments were proposed by Congress in 1789 at their first session. And having received the ratification of the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, they became a part of the Constitution in December the 15th, 1791. And are known as the Bill of Rights. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, this seems to be one area that we can't seem to do. Nobody wants to listen to grievances. We have so many lobbyists and so many congressmen that they're elected officials. They don't have to listen to the people. No grievances. So, we have something to contend with. The redress of grievances. A very smart gentleman from Louisiana just wrote a document a few months ago called Grievances. Do you think that got to Congress? Well, it didn't, but it should. Proceeding to Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, at this point in time, the government is in violation of the Second Amendment. I have seen truckloads of arms in dump trucks, just being dumped on the ground. These arms belong to individuals. So, they have violated the First Amendment. They have violated the Second Amendment. Number 3, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Now, the last word is interesting here because that could be interpreted as martial law, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Okay, so this is a gray area in Amendment number 3. Moving on to Amendment number 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. This amendment number 4 has been violated so many times that I don't even think we can put a number on it. Continual violation of citizens and citizens' rights. Now, number 5 is most interesting. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia. So I interpret that as JAG, the actual law enforcement unit of the military. When in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Okay, there it is right there. I have it highlighted. Witness against himself. Well, with pre-crime and all of the other various procedures that they have using fMRI, they have violated the Fifth Amendment. To be a witness against himself. Okay, so they can read your mind and find out whether you have a tendency towards this crime or whether you have in fact committed this crime. So, Fifth Amendment violated by the United States government. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, another violation of the Fifth Amendment, eminent domain. Large corporations have sent lawless individuals into apartments such as New York City way back when and cleaned the place out. Eminent domain. They took the land and they paid nothing. Amendment number 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. There are violations in here, but they are gray areas. And we have to take a closer look and actually take it apart, word by word. Amendment number 7. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. I find no problem with that. Amendment number 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted, violated. Amendment number 8, violated. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. These people are being punished. Julian Assange is being punished brutally. Edward Snowden is in exile, away from his family and friends. Why? Because he found a crooked government. We have the right to dismiss the government and replace it if we are displeased with the way they are handling our country. We, the people, are stronger than the government. We, the people, have to get up off of our backsides and start doing something. Amendment number 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. I don't find anything wrong with that. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. I don't find any problem with that. Okay, that's 1 through 10. We have found violations in over 50% of the Bill of Rights, which is part of the United States Constitution. You should have a copy of this in your back pocket, especially if you are a TI. Some of the state constitutions drawn up during the Revolution included bills of rights. The most famous and influential of these was Virginia's Declaration of Rights, written by George Mason in 1776. Mason also had a large hand in writing the Virginian Constitution at about the same time. Strictly speaking, the Declaration of Rights was not part of that Constitution. It is upon Mason's Declaration of Rights that much of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution is founded. The principal author of the Bill of Rights, however, was James Madison, as we know from history. All early Americans with any serious interest in politics knew something about the English Bill or Declaration of Rights of 1688. But, as in many other matters, American leaders tended to be influenced more by recent or colonial American precedents and example than by those by British history. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both earnestly supported the idea of a national Bill of Rights, and so did many other leading men. We have an opportunity now to examine those 10 amendments, one by one, with a view to grasping their original purpose or meaning. For people of our time, the phrases of those amendments, like the phrases of the original 7 articles of the Constitution. I'm sorry. Have to go to commercial. Thank you so much for listening.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75% dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Good evening from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we discuss the Bill of Rights and the Vienna Declaration on TM Radio. You can call into the show live and ask a question at 800-313-9443, or you can listen at 605-313-0163. Just to recap a little bit, Human Rights Day is celebrated every year on the 10th of December. This day is celebrated internationally to commemorate the 10th of December, 1948, when the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at Palais des Chalets, Paris, after the experience of the Second World War. Anybody that was in Europe at that time has some really devastating memories. Okay, so what did those words mean? Now, this is going back to the phrases. Some people don't quite understand the phrasing and some of the dialogue that is used in the Constitution, and it's quite understandable. It was written in a different time when people spoke differently. So what did those words mean as people used them near the end of the 18th century? One way to find out is to consult the first great dictionary of the English language. Samuel Johnson's, published at London in 1775, or later, Noah Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language in 1828. It is important to understand precisely so far as possible, the meanings intended by the men, chiefly James Madison and George Mason, whose phrases are found in the Bill of Rights. Because many important cases of constitutional law that affect millions of Americans are today decided on the presumed significance of certain phrases in the Bill of Rights. As the English jurist Sir James Fitzjames Stephen wrote in Victorian times, "Words are tools that break in the hand." We therefore need to define the concepts which lie behind the words of the Bill of Rights. Next, I would like to bring to you the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action 1, adopted by the World Conference on Human Rights in Vienna. This was on 25 June 1993. The World Conference on Human Rights, considering that the promotion and protection of human rights is a matter of priority for the international community, and that the conference affords a unique opportunity to carry out a comprehensive analysis of the international human rights system and of the machinery for the protection of human rights in order to enhance and thus promote a fuller observance of those rights in a just and balanced manner. We must recognize and affirm that all human rights derive from the dignity and worth inherent in the human person, and that the human person is the central subject of the human rights and fundamental freedoms, and consequently should be the principal beneficiary and should participate actively in the realization of these rights and freedoms. As a targeted individual, I'm sure I can speak for everyone. Okay, folks, we have to go to station identification. We'll be right back.
Don't believe the church and state and everything they tell you. Believe in me, I'm with the high command. Can you hear me?
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Extend your life with Extend Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Good evening, once again, Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen. Tonight, we discuss the Bill of Rights and the Vienna Declaration on TM Radio. You can call into the show live and ask a question. Join in at 800-313-9443 or listen at 605-313-0163. It's very sad that we have to bring up a document that's the better part of 200 years old and reaffirm it, bring it out where people can listen to it and appreciate it and understand the rights that are yours. The Constitution is a very powerful document. Okay, I'm going to get back to where I left off. Reaffirming the commitment contained in Article 56 of the Charter of the United Nations to take joint and separate action, placing proper emphasis on developing effective international cooperation for the realization of the purposes set out in Article 55, including universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all. That has a ring to it. Fundamental freedoms for all. Emphasizing the responsibilities of all states. Now, when they say states here, they mean countries, obviously. So emphasizing the responsibilities of all states in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations to develop and encourage respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. That is a powerful statement. Race, sex, language, or religion. Why don't we stick to these? Because people haven't probably read them. That's one reason. Recalling the preamble to the Charter of the United Nations, in particular, the determination to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights. Fundamental human rights. Targeted individuals have been stripped of all rights. We have none. We have no right to privacy anywhere. We are asset stripped to the point where we can barely survive. Our families are split up like so many piles of kindling. We, for the most part, live alone. Families destroyed, sadness, and isolation. So the targeted individuals of the world know exactly what I'm talking about. Recalling also the determination expressed in the preamble of the Charter of the United Nations to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. What are we always into? War. One war after another, over oil, usually. To establish conditions under which justice and respect for obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained. To promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. To practice tolerance and good neighborliness, and to employ international machinery for the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples. I don't see anything wrong with this document. This is the way it should be. Catherine from New Jersey, I'm terribly sorry. I just glanced over and saw you there. Catherine, go ahead. We lost her? Okay, I'm terribly sorry. If you're listening, Catherine, call right back in and I'll pick you up in a second. I just got very involved in this piece. Emphasizing that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which constitutes a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, is the source of inspiration and has been the basis for the United Nations in making advances in standard setting, as contained in the existing international human rights instruments. In particular, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. All your rights are here. All your rights are in the Bill of Rights. All you do, all you have to do, is use them. Considering the major changes taking place on the international scene and the aspirations of all the peoples for an international order based on principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, including promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, and respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, peace, democracy, justice, equality, rule of law, pluralism, development, better standards of living and solidarity. Deeply concerned by various forms of discrimination and violence to which women continue to be exposed all over the world. I have studied several countries that are despicable when it comes to women, especially. And if they are listening, they know who they are. Recognizing that the activities of the United Nations in the field of human rights should be rationalized and enhanced in order to strengthen the United Nations machinery in this field and to further the objectives of universal respect for observance of international human rights standards. So what we have are parts of the UN Charter. And I know a lot of people have, as of late, been against the United Nations. I believe this is through propaganda. Because the United Nations is almost bankrupt because no one wants to let this kind of news out. They don't want anybody to hear this. That's why we come to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because we can tell you the truth. We can tell you what's going on. Welcoming the International Year of the World's Indigenous People, 1993, as a reaffirmation of the commitment of the international community to ensure their enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to respect the value and diversity of their cultures and identities. Now, we recently did a show, I did it with Marilyn, on human slavery. The date, 2019. The UN was there at the drop of a hat. And they are still there. And they'll be there until all parties have been thrown in jail or executed. They had a woman who was in a trunk for years. Or actually, I believe it was a freezer. She was in there for years. A young Filipino woman. Terrible. Those people, I believe, have been put to death, as per the the law of the land. Recognizing also that the international community should devise ways and means to remove the current obstacles and meet challenges to the full realization of all human rights, and to prevent the continuation of human rights violations resulting therefrom throughout the world, invoking the spirit of our age and the realities of our time, which call upon the peoples of the world and all states members of the United Nations to rededicate themselves to the global task of promoting and protecting all human rights and fundamental freedoms. Now, fundamental freedoms keeps coming up. Do you know why? Because in many countries, there are no fundamental freedoms. China, for example. Targeted individuals, for example. Fundamental freedoms, I don't call torture in your own home a fundamental freedom. It's a disgrace to this entire country and the world. Fortunately, we are or have been in touch with the UN. Fundamental freedoms, so as to secure full and universal enjoyment of these rights. Determined to take new steps forward in the commitment of the international community with a view to achieving substantial progress in human rights endeavors, to be accomplished by an increased and sustained effort of international cooperation and solidarity. Well, I don't see that happening today. Things have changed. Technology has changed. The world has gotten even smaller, if possible. We are being surveilled. When you walk into a store, especially if you are a targeted individual, facial recognition picks you up, and they know what you've purchased, when you purchased it, how much you paid, and if you tried to return it. So, TIs might as well put a red target on their back, because we are being raked over the coals, but we are now winning against this. Everywhere we are winning because of numbers. That's all it takes to get the word out. Numbers. Not 200, 300, 400 people in Washington. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That's what we need. When Targeted Justice goes to Washington this coming year, I want to see thousands of people. I think we can do it. The World Conference on Human Rights reaffirms the solemn commitment of all states to fulfill their obligations to promote universal respect for and observance and protection of all human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, other instruments relating to human rights, and international law. The universal nature of these rights and freedoms is beyond question. In this framework, enhancement of international cooperation in the field of human rights is essential for the full achievement of the purposes of the United Nations. Once again, I don't think that it's going to be boots on the ground in the United States from the United Nations, because we're screwing it up to the point where nobody has to. Just throw a microwave beam on you. Cameras, you name it. Everyone in the United States has lost all their rights, and they don't even know it. Human rights and fundamental freedoms are the birthright of all human beings. Their protection and promotion is the first responsibility of governments. The people, we the people, are the first responsibility of our government. Not their money, not the gold in Fort Knox. We the people. We the targeted individuals. We the people have had enough. Trust me on this one. All peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. I've been talking about freedoms. These are all freedoms. But nobody here is really free at all. Taking into account the particular situation of peoples under colonial or other forms of alien domination or foreign occupation, the World Conference on Human Rights recognizes the right of peoples to take any legitimate action in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations to realize their inalienable right of self-determination. The World Conference on Human Rights considers the denial of the right of self-determination as a violation of human rights and underlines the importance of the effective realization of this right. It's one thing to want the human rights, but they won't be done until they are realized. In accordance with the Declaration on Principles of International Law concerning friendly relations and cooperation among states, all of which in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, this shall not be construed as authorizing or encouraging any action which would dismember or impair, totally or in part, the territorial integrity of political unity of sovereign and independent states, conducting themselves in compliance with the principle of equal rights. Equal rights. There's another one. Equal rights for all. And self-determination of peoples, and thus possessed of a government representing the whole people belonging to the territory without distinction of any kind. Boy, that would be really something. Effective international measures to guarantee and monitor the implementation of human rights and the standards thereto. I'm going to call it a night right there. And it's really sad to go over your own Bill of Rights to your country and find out that your government has violated 50 to 60% of them. Good night from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Frank Allen.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.